Okay, welcome back to Zeria looking away from the screen so she doesn't spoil any of the fic of mine she is about to read. That's right.
Yeah.
I wrote a fic now. It's out now. Zeria's gonna read it. Okay, feel free. Go ahead.
Alright, title, Chaos Control. Summary. Zeria was writing Comet Girls fic, and trying to come up with a title for her first one. This title popped into my head. It had to be Tsubasa X Chaos and Tsuchan's the Chuni. We'd say that line and Chaos is the pun, and since that isn't Zeria's ship, or mine, but whatever, it fell upon me to write a fic to accompany the title. Yep, that's the origin story. I thought of a dumb title.
Not really a summary, but you know.
The low hum of an electric fan mingled with the sounds of brawling and rapid button presses to form the backdrop of the focused wordlessness Kaos and Tsubasa sat in. While Kaos certainly wasn't going to complain about this alone time with her dashing senpai, her lack of success in match after match was starting to put a damper on things, and the current lighting definitely wasn't brightening the mood. Isn't it dark in here? It's hard to see the screen when it's too bright. Ah, that's Tsubasa for you, single-minded as always. It is pretty cool, though. Even after these years spent as dorm mates, even after graduating high school, she's never changed.
They're not underage, it's
just
fine.
as you'd expect from Tsubasa. A bit caught up in her moment of daydreaming, Kao snapped back to reality with the sinking feeling of yet another loss coming her way, and feeling the same assuredness in this round's outcome, Tsubasa began to gloat. It's time to blast through with sonic speed.
She's playing a Sonic, that's why she thought of the title.
Unfortunately for you, you were up against the ultimate kinetic eyesight of my evil eye. And just then, her triumphant monologue was cut short by an aerial attack from a flying feline. The dorm kitten finding this to be the most appropriate moment to launch herself at Tsubasa's face. And before Kaos was even able to register what had happened, she'd knocked an incapacitated Tsubasa off the stage and finally achieved sweet victory. Okay, one sec. Who is this flying feline?
Nyaos, the cat. I didn't know the name at the time, so I just had to refer to them as the dorm kitten. I would have still used aerial attack from flying feline because I like my indulgent
No, it's good. It's good.
alliteration.
That doesn't count. Tsubasa-san, what? Kaos looked over with devilish glee. I thought you had an evil eye.
Yanakata.
This adorable, sincere smugness over victory that was entirely fair, that was not entirely fairly won, was too much for Tsubasa to handle. Why, you little... Get over here. Seeking to defend all that was moral and battle this injustice, Tsubasa heroically leapt on top of Kaos and wrestled her to the ground. Wait, stop. Tsubasa-san. Their one-sided scuffle was put on hold, with Tsubasa suspended on all fours above Kaos. Not one to fail to appreciate a beautiful view, Kaos found herself quite happy to gaze at the pair of perfect hills before her. But eventually she regained enough of her senses to notice that in addition to the quite expected blushing she was doing, shockingly, Tsubasa's face had reddened as well, in spite of how nonplussed she had always been before. Tsubasa-san, is everything alright? Ah, impossible. My warrior's heart is supposed to be incorruptible, but I can feel my resolve crumbling. Tsubasa-san, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about here, but... Tsubasa ran her breath up the length of Kaos' neck until it reached her ear, before whispering into it, Chaos Control, and taking a little nibble of her adorably flushed earlobe. At this, any and all questioning from Kaos instantly ceased. Okay,
Oh, whoops, could have used editing.
And was prepared to go wherever Tsubasa saw fit to take her.
This was finished at like 4 a.m.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and you were just doing this before the flight, so it's all good. My moral fiber remains intact, however, and if I am to indulge, I would never do so selfishly. So, would you be willing to indulge me, my princess?
It's not non-con, it's not consensual, it's not rape, it is consensual, she gives consent.
Thank you.
Kaos began blushing even more intensely if such a thing was possible, and let out a deep, pleasured sigh. Ah, Tsubasa, please go right ahead. Oh, she dropped the song.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay. Tsubasa's lips immediately met hers, teasing Kaos to strain upwards by pulling back slightly, drawing the desire up out of her, before allowing that tension to release all at once by lowering back down to give Kaos as much of her mouth as she could possibly crave. Really moving around, sweetie. But it seemed that Kaos wanted yet more. She reached up and wrapped her arms around Tsubasa's shoulders, indicating that she wanted things to go further. It's dark in here. Come closer so I can see you.
Is that a little bit of foreshadowing? Look at that setting detail. Masterful.
My, so patient are we? Tsubasa teasingly lilted. Is that a word?
Yeah, lilting is like saying with like a sing-songy inflection.
I did not know that. Well, if my princess insists, how could I refuse her wishes? Tsubasa took one hand. Okay. Tsubasa took one hand and slowly ran it through Kaos's long hair, and with the other traced up past the base of her stomach until she reached her targets. Kaos inhaled sharply, and soon short, uncontrollable moans interspersed themselves hungry breaths.
Among hungry breaths, I guess that should be.
Okay, you really should have.
Yeah, I really fell apart at the end.
Deftly escaped from tightly locked lips. Duki-san would probably yell at us if she saw what we were eating. Okay, Kaos managed to get out after this bliss had continued for some time. Ellipses. It's okay to eat this stuff once in a while.
Which is a quote from this scene in the anime. Look at that.
What's the comment? Yeah, the one saying it's better than my narration. Good. Yeah, that was good though. That was good. Believe.
I was very happy with that line near the end. Deftly escaped from tightly locked lips as well, because that was evocative imagery. Yeah. But yeah, relatively short, 700 words,
indeed.
So that was shorter than her debut fic. Ended a bit abruptly. I didn't quite know where to take things, and also it was late at night and I was running to catch my flight, so I didn't have much of an incentive to draw out that sexual scene much longer.
Indeed.
But overall, I'm pretty dang happy with it. And we will be back shortly to record. Or I guess let's just do a fucking double feature. No need to cut this.
Yeah.
I'll read Zeria.
Positions.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe I'll cut here. Maybe I won't.
Look at my shorts. They're cool. They're purple. I like purple. I like it. It's good.
Cool. Oh, I guess we don't need these. We're just reading.
This one's 2,300 words, because,
Wow. More than 3 times as much as what I did there.
prose is changing.
Nice. Oh, can I use this? Okay. But this date couldn't get any more chaotic.
I will tell you that it is hard to make this many chaos puns.
This is my favorite one yet.
I know, but it's hard.
House and Uki attempt to go on their first date. The third of my comic girls fics. Kaos-chan, do you want to go on a date next Sunday? Asked Uki. It was another sunny day as the 4 mangaka were eating peacefully on the roof. Kaos was, as always, savoring her carefully crafted lunch. The dorm mother generally prepared food for the 4 of them, but she had to be extra careful with Kaos given how picky the girl was. The question came as her chopsticks were doing their best not to let the sausage she was eating fall to the ground. Given how unprepared she was to hear such a thing, it fell anyway. Absolutely, Ruki-san. Kaos was uncharacteristically stoic as she said that. To an outside observer, it might seem that she wasn't all that interested, with a simple soft smile and relatively little emotion in her voice. This was, of course, no more than an attempt to maintain even the slightest semblance of composure. Lots of alliterated adjectives. Big fan. A date. I know we're dating, but now an actual date? Does Ruki-san really think we're ready for that? Alright, I can do this. Let's play it cool. What sort of date, Ruki-san? I personally believe that somewhere along the lines of an aquarium would be nice, or perhaps a nice stroll through the park. Kaos-chan, please don't act like that. Remember what I told you about being honest with your feelings? Koyume laughed at the situation. She's right, Kaos-chan, it's kinda creepy. freebie. I was just acting mature. This time everyone laughed. Kaos's face grew more and more flustered. It was a bit sad, though it was also very cute, especially to Ruki. Don't worry, Kaos-chan. I just thought we could go out and enjoy ourselves together. There's plenty of things that both of us like to do. While she'd initially been laughing, Ruki's smile became a lot softer as she attempted to calm her girlfriend down. She'd had a feeling this wouldn't go as simply as in manga. Perhaps she'd been reading the wrong series if she wanted to predict Kaos's actions.
Whoever fucking said your narration was better, fuck off. The prose here is good.
It is good. That may have been prior to this fic?
No, it was not. This one released before yours.
Or maybe they hadn't read yours yet. Or maybe they meant, like, dialogue instead of narration.
Oh, well, yeah, in dialogue, yeah, my dialogue is my weak spot. Anyways, continue.
Yes. Tsubasa brought her head up, putting down her sketchbook for the first time in what seemed like 20 minutes. Just pick places each of you like to go and visit all of them. Your deadlines aren't for a while, are they, Ruki? Ruki nodded, pleased that Tsubasa remembered something like that. And you obviously don't have any deadlines coming up, Kaos-chan. Ruki was a bit less happy to hear Tsubasa say that, but all of them knew it was true, so aside from Kaos' slightly hurt expression and Koyumi's subtle laugh, they simply moved on. Everyone understood that it came from a desire to see Kaos improve, after all. The bell rang, and they began to get back to class. The two girlfriends knew they had to decide where to go in the next 2 days, and both of them already had some ideas. At 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, it wasn't particularly as sunny as Ruki would have hoped, but the clouds didn't look as if they'd rain, at least. Kaos had been a bit slow to get up after obviously staying up too late to work on her drawing once again. Period.
Yeah, you said it with the slightly wrong cadence, but it's fine.
It caused Ruki some mixed feelings. She was happy to see the girl try so hard, but at the same time she couldn't exactly encourage such unhealthy practices. Regardless, Kaos's excitement for the day's date won out in the end, as she quickly snapped out of bed once the coming event fully dawned on her. The dorm mother had been kind enough to gift the two of them with tickets to the amusement park. As Ruki thought about it, she remembered that she'd done the same for Tsubasa and Koyume that one time. If she wasn't so preoccupied with how cute Kaos was, the question of how and why she had so many of them would have stood out a lot more to her. As they stood right outside the park, Ruki looked over at Kaos once again. At first, her eyes were drawn to the adorable red one-piece dress that she hadn't been able to take her eyes off of since seeing her put it on for the first time. The second thing she noticed was that the girl was a bit nervous. Are there too many people? We don't have to enter the place if you don't want to. We didn't even pay for these, after all. No, I can do this. I was fine when we came to watch Tsubasa-san and Koyume-chan, after all. Her voice carried a level of determination that Ruki wasn't going to challenge, even if she was still worried about her girlfriend's chances of surviving a place like this. She had been right to worry. Kaos walked off the roller coaster terrified, tears streaming down her face. This was almost as bad as when she'd first met Fuda. Fortunately, Ruki was able to hold her hand and bring her off to the side as quickly as she could. She had enjoyed the ride and would have liked to go on more, but Kaos's feelings took priority in this situation. Yeah, no, just like...
But the series is...
Just like the mangaka, so. You have come to appreciate the pleasure in bullying Kaos.
It's fun. It's kind of fun.
There. Being patted on the head was perhaps a bit patronizing, but Kaos certainly enjoyed it, especially at times like this. Are you feeling better now? Do you want to go somewhere a bit more familiar?
This was before the latest episode, contextualizing when that was the first time she'd gone to Akiba.
Akiba. Well, I'm certainly not opposed, but are you sure you want us to go there? Aren't there a bit too many people? It's fine, I want to go. Her sentences were unusually short and to the point. It was somewhat cute to Ruki, though her sympathy for the girl was far more prominent at the moment. Ruki sat up from the bench they were sitting on, pulling Kaos's hand with her as she did so. She knew that the girl wasn't exactly in a position to leave right now, even if she knew exactly where she wanted to go. To be honest, Ruki wasn't eager to visit Akiba right now, as her last trip to the district hadn't exactly ended great. Still, she wanted Kaos to be as happy as possible, and so she could certainly handle a short visit to the place.
I forgot how long this was.
Yeah. As they left the station, stepping onto occupied streets, Kaos finally perked up. Spending so much time so close to Ruki hadn't done much to calm her down, though the reason behind her intense emotions had certainly changed. Seeing all the cute girls she loved so much, it was able to distract her from the fact that her girlfriend's touch was enthralling, if only for a little bit. Immediately, Kaos began to run from store to store. Given how many manga the girl read, it was of little surprise that new volumes of the series she kept up with were on sale. Ruki, meanwhile, felt somewhat awkward, standing off to the side. She had manga she liked as well, of course, and had she been in the mood, she likely would have spent some time looking at them. But there was a bit of a dilemma. Since Kaos had taught her how to use a computer, she'd begun to buy her manga on there. Okay. I thought she was going to begin reading her manga legally online. Especially since it let her read reference material that she may, as a high schooler, not be allowed to purchase in stores. A few of those manga had incredibly captivating stories, to the point she was able to take some tips from them, but she couldn't exactly buy stuff like that.
She buys the porn for the story, don't doubt Dookie.
And that's not to mention the fact that her last visit to the store had ended in her almost being discovered as the author of the manga she drew. She'd obviously grown much more comfortable in admitting who she was now, but that didn't prevent her from feeling a bit on edge, so she wasn't having a ton of fun. Kaos continued to look around at an almost absurd pace, dodging customers left and right, muttering to herself all the while. Ooh, this looks interesting. I think I read about it on X-San's blog.
It's too late to come up with.
No, that's good. Like, it makes sense. Like a series would do that. She felt so comfortable in a place like this, and was happy to be here after the disaster that was the amusement park. She wished she had chosen a place that both people enjoyed early on. Dookie-san, what? As Kaos looked over at Yuki after getting everything she wanted in that section, she realized that her girlfriend didn't look like she was having a good time. In fact, she looked downright bored, perhaps even uncomfortable. She was tapping her foot and finger in sync with a somewhat spacey, pained look on her face. Kaos' smile dropped as she ran over to find out what was going on. What's wrong, Dookie-san? Do you not enjoy being here? I thought you'd like it since you love manga so much, but I guess I really don't understand what high school girls like to do. Oh God. Her voice began to trail off. If only I hadn't gotten so scared at the park earlier. Ruki didn't feel excellent, but Kaos was clearly growing more and more distraught as she blamed herself for the ongoing events, beginning to break down into tears once again. Kaos-chan, don't worry. I'll admit that this wasn't exactly where I wanted to go, but you don't need to cry over me. I'm fine. Ruki said that with a smile on her face. If you'd spent years with her, you'd realize it was fake, only there to keep the other girl happy, but Ruki assumed that Kaos, not having known her for even a full year yet, would be incapable of detecting the insincerity. She probably shouldn't have made that assumption. Kaos' tears slowed, though they didn't stop, as her expression began to change. A scowl started to form as she raised her head slightly. This angry side of her was not something Ruki had ever seen before, and she would have found it adorable if the dissonance hadn't made it so terrifying. Stop brushing your own feelings aside just to try and cheer me up, Ruki-san. You enjoyed the amusement park, didn't you? You wanted to stay, didn't you? Well, you should have said so. It's not fair to coddle me like this. Ruki was honestly taken aback. She hadn't intended to treat Kaos as if she were a child in need of protection, but looking at her actions today, it wasn't hard to see how she may have done so. Still, she attempted to counter what the small girl was saying, paying mind not to make even more customers stare than already were. You were terrified, Kaos-chan. We couldn't exactly stay when you were like that. It's not about whether or not we stayed. You told me to be honest with my feelings, and I'm trying, but it doesn't feel like you are. She had no counter to that. She'd explicitly thought earlier that Kaos' feelings came before her own. Was that really how she should go about things? Didn't both of their feelings matter? Ruki grabbed Kaos' hand and pulled her out of the store. Any more time in there and they probably would have been kicked out given how loud Kaos was getting. Besides, her face was known, and it may not have been a good idea to let the fact that she was a lesbian leak to the world at large. Kaos clearly recognized that she might have been a bit too loud and was nervously messing around with her phone as they stood beside each other next to the Mandrake building. Yeah. Ruki looked over at her as she was doing so and noticed that it was almost 1. She had forgotten that they hadn't eaten yet, and that fact suddenly hit her incredibly hard. Hey, why don't we go get something to eat and talk about this?
I say this with no bragging, but I feel like my prose in this is very distinctly like Nisio Yusin influence. Like, I was reading some Bake on the plane, and now reading this, which I wrote before reading that part of Bake, I'm like, whoa, actually this is kind of similar. That was good. But...
Yeah. It had taken a bit to decide what to eat, but eventually they settled. With that. Okay.
You know, I have so many less typos than you. It's also 3 times as long, so back off.
Let she who is blameless cast the first stone.
Stop.
They eventually settled on a curry place. Ruki had beef curry while Kaos had chosen tonkatsu. The smaller girl was the first string of the events of 30 minutes prior. I'm sorry for getting so loud earlier, Ruki-san, and I'm sorry for ruining the amusement park too. I just wanted our date to go well, and I was upset that you wouldn't tell me your real feelings. No, it's my fault for not paying attention to how you really felt about the amusement park in the first place. You shouldn't try and act strong like that just to show off to me. Kaz finished swallowing a spoonful of her dish, sheepishly letting out a brief, allowing Ruki to continue. Spoonful? Tonkatsu?
Of her dish. No, okay. You've never had tonkatsu curry. Whatever.
Okay, tonkatsu curry. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think both of us might have been, you just didn't, you put tonkatsu, not tonkatsu curry. I know it's a curry place, but, they might just serve,
Okay,
maybe it is these things that elevate my prose above your own, my narration above your own.
It's a natural inference.
I was choking my smug spit. Okay, I think both of us might have been a bit too focused on making our date absolutely perfect. I just wanted you to be happy, and I might have gone a bit overboard in focusing on your feelings over my own. Kaos chuckled, which was a happy sign to Ruki. This is the most fun thing we've done all day. This time it was Ruki who laughed. You're right on that, Kaos-chan. Neither said it outright, but it was clear to the both of them that agreeing on a place they truly wanted to visit together like this was what they should have done in the first place. As they finished their meal, Ruki thought about what had occurred. Obviously, a relationship wouldn't go perfectly. That didn't happen even in the manga she read, but perhaps she'd been blinded by their chemistry. No matter how well they clicked, things wouldn't always work out. At least she was able to learn that in a low-stakes situation like this, at least today's events could help her future writing. Upon returning to the dorms, the two of them went to their respective rooms, explaining to their roommates how they'd messed things up. While neither was super excited about the day, they had managed to recover things, so they weren't in too bad of a shape. Ruki, in particular, felt better, especially given her new resolution to treat Kaos on equal terms, especially outside their roles as mangaka. Tsubasa was a good listener and helped her feel right in her current confidence, until she butted in with one final comment. I am happy you managed to work things out with Ruki, but I had assumed
Not
that...
with Ruki.
Oh.
Ruki.
Oh.
Very important to
Yeah.
the line. Read from the start.
I'm happy you managed to work things out, Ruki, but I had assumed that for someone like you, a date would end in the... She didn't know what to say. That's a good one. Once again, hope you enjoyed this one. I hope I didn't make Tsubasa come across as too mean. I'm out of Kasa and Ruki ideas for the immediate future, so we'll see if I write up another comic girl fic next week, or if I'll be moving on to another series. That's right, Zeria is writing these weekly.
I did get the... no, I actually did get The person who criticized my prose also says Kaos feels off.
Just isn't a huge fan.
That was nice, too. Wow, gotta be a dick about it.
Okay, but also, Fauna concert in 30 minutes that we're gonna try to go to. So, thanks for watching. More fit content eventually. I gotta go put on Astolfo shit and be in a concert. Bye!